Good morning, everybody. Sorry for being late. About 5 minutes over. Apologies. Who we have in the chat this morning already? Looking at seeing Reth, number 3. Good job. Hey, thanks for being here, buddy. Good to see you. Steven Machado is here. Martin and Happy, like always. Happy got me on the big screen. And Kittrell's here. Good morning. Chaz, okay. I just posted in your Discord channel. Thanks for being here. Good morning, Steve. Need to go to the principal's office. I know. I'm so terrible. My boss talked me into doing a 4-mile run this morning. And so I got back at 7 and needed to smash food really quick. But then, of course, the wife wants to have a conversation in the morning. And so, you got to keep her happy, right? That's where this is coming from. No, that's cool. Thanks, Chaz, for being here. Good morning, Nathan. We got Chirpy in the chat. That's great. Thanks for being here, buddy. First time. Clown Hammer, good morning. There's no alcohol in this if you guys are worried about it. This is ginger, pineapple, a little bit of orange juice. My wife does juicing, and she makes liters of juice every week. And this is her shot in the morning. Cool. Now that pleasantries are kind of wrapping up, we've got something new on the desk today. Steve and I had talked about this last week, so he's kind of in the know, and some other folks are in the know. If you are on the behind the scenes channel on the Killer Prince Discord, I've been posting photos in there of what I've been working on. It's a printer for ants kind of day. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Running out of room, so we gotta scale down a little bit. But yesterday, spent a lot of time just kind of going through. I think I was out here for maybe 6 or 7 hours yesterday, just doing all the things. This is not intended to be like a, hey, here's how you build it kind of series. This is I'm working on this on the side. Let's show it off. Let's talk about it. So today, hopefully, is more of a chill hangout, give you guys a chance to ask questions. I'm hoping we get the devs in the chat as well, so maybe they can ask questions on or answer questions on design choices and why we did this versus that. But if you guys were at Rocky Mountain, you definitely saw this project if you walked around and talked to most of the folks. So I'm excited to show it off and finish it up a little bit. So still a little bit to go on the project. So we'll do a little bit of building, but it's not really about the build on this particular project. Raj D's back. Good to see you again. All right. Well, that's enough stalling. Let's check out where we are. So this project, let's turn this off. This project is called Antithesis. So this one is not an official printers for ants, but it is an ant-sized printer. The bed is roughly 100 by 80, so it's a rectangle. Get a ruler out here. Good morning, Pez Liz. 5K this morning. Yeah, everything will be done when you get back, so kind of your reward for doing a 5K. I only did, I think I did 6K this morning. 6.5. Pretty short. All right, so size-wise, it's about 130. I lied a little bit. So it's about 130 by 100. So that's what you're looking at. It does look like a CNC printer. There are very, very much CNC parts on this. So this is not something that you're going to be able to just print everything and slap it together. There are some custom parts on this, okay? So that's why I didn't want to go into like a build, because for most folks, you're not going to have the ability to cut all your own parts, although you could order them from any of the, metal manufacturers. But they are, I'm assuming, extrusions. You've got some MGN 12 rails here and some other things like that. There's some on the X. We'll go through it. You want one already? That's what I said, Chaz, when I saw it at at Rocky Mountain, I spent, I don't know, maybe 2 hours talking with Dan and Cameron about the project itself and how I could build one. And they were a little hesitant, you know, like most folks. When you have a project, you feel like it's not done. We get this nice blue magnesium or manganese probably plate here. I quite like that, and it's got some PEI on this side. But yeah, it definitely looks like a mill, which is why it drew me in and why I wanted to build one. So after talking with those guys for a little while, we kicked the project in gear, and they uploaded everything to GitHub. That's pinned in chat if you want to go check it out. And I started collecting parts, and here we are. So all of the green, this is the new Polymaker high temp PLA, and it's pretty thick, pretty beefy. We're just going to test it out and see if it makes for a good printer structural components. If it doesn't, then we can reprint everything, or because I was always a little skeptical, I printed everything again, but this time in orange glass fiber ABS. So if things do break or whatever, we do have a backup set of parts. But this is purely for testing, to have a good time and to try out some new filament. But that's Power Tool Green from Polymaker. It's sold out right now, unfortunately, so I can't get any more. But any of the gray stuff you see, some of the smaller parts are in gray, the accent pieces. It wasn't intended to be a dual color printer like that, but I ran out of Power Tool Green, so Ambrosia to the rescue. Heat set press. You have the F1 in the background. F1. I don't see an F1. Yeah, I'm not seeing an F1. I'm not sure what you mean. $830. Yeah, so this is the project. Let's go through it a little bit. What you get, you have a 40/40 frame, like base piece with an MGN12 rail on top of that. The rail is only like 185 from what I remember. It might be 200, but somewhere in that range as far as size goes. Everything on this printer is pretty small. Yeah, so bottom is like 185. Going up from the base, you have it's hard to see underneath here, but you've got a carriage that sort of slides. So like this, and there are two metal plates here. One interfaces with the MGN12, the other interfaces with a MGN9C, and the C goes laterally in the Y direction on a 15/15 extrusion. From there, you have a aluminum bed plate mounting bracket here, and then a PCB bed heater with just a typical magnetic sheet on top at the size. So that is that. And then on the vertical, you have a 20/40 extrusion with a 20/20 here, and another MGN12 rail on the backside of this here. This is another short piece of rail. These two are the same, so about 185. Two more mounting brackets here, one to the 12 and then one to the vertical extrusion, and that just adds a mounting point for the rail to attach to. Now this bracket here is sort of universal, so it holds your extruder and your cabling, and what we're going to use is a leftover Bondtech LGX. This is probably too heavy to run on a tool head these days with so many other options out there that are very, very capable, but I still wanted to use it for something, so I kept it around. And with a universal mounting bracket like this, so this plate just sort of slides into the carriage like so, you can put whatever you want on here. And then you have your tool head that mounts to the bottom. So this tool head will go kind of right on there like that. So you can run a bunch of different hot ends. You can run a bunch of different extruders. All you would need to do is just sort of modify this. On the GitHub, they have files for this LGX, and there's an orbiter too. But if you wanted something else, you can make something else. And there's still a little bit of room back here for a tool head board, which I plan to run a Nighthawk. So I've got a few of these Nighthawks laying around. I took their mounting bracket for the EBB 36 and modified it to fit onto an EBB 42, a 42 bracket. Sort of mashed those two together and remixed it. And then this will mount on the back of there. And I'm just realizing that's a little bit tight, so we'll have to go back in and modify this, maybe trim that down just a touch so that it fits. But that's planned to go right back in there on the back of this one here. Probably should have measured that out before I started printing stuff, but this bracket's 20 minutes to print a new one. This is printed from ABS, but I'll redesign that a little bit, add it on there, and then eventually I'll put this on the GitHub if you guys want that. But the idea is that we run a Nighthawk on here, cabling would come up and over the machine, and then the electronics actually are very compact. This is your case for it. This is a Manta M5P. It's what the printer is right now designed to use. But I had another one. I had another idea that I would use a Mellow board. Let me just grab that for you. So if you wanted to go smaller, you could go a little smaller. This is another case here. Probably why I ran out of Power Tool Green is because I printed several of these. But if you wanted to go even a little more compact, this is a Fly D5 that is, I don't know, just barely bigger than a Raspberry Pi. And then you'd mount a Raspberry Pi here, like this one. So you've got a Mellow, and then you've got a Pi that would go there. And that's what you would get if you wanted to run that way. You only need 3 steppers with running a Nighthawk. If you wanted to run cabling back and use more of a traditional setup without a tool head board, you could totally do that. You just need something with a 4th driver. So at the very least, you need a Big Tree Tech Pico. That would work. And then, or you could use an M4P Manta. Do I do 5Ks in my Crocs? I don't. Crocs are for the garage only. I had actual running shoes on, but in the garage we wear Crocs. So now you see it's a Minion, but XY motion are both on the bed. Kind of. The Minion's a little larger. The Minion is if you can imagine that I didn't cut a square out of this for the project. So imagine that's whole. This is a 220 bed. A Minion is a 180 by 180. So sort of that big. If you don't mind the cable coming out at an angle, rotate Nighthawk 45 degrees in its whole. Yeah, you're correct, Nathan. I could have done that. I don't mind it coming out at a 45. Again, this is just a concept printer that I'm going to just test new hot ends and stuff on. So I like testing new hardware, and often I'm an early adopter for stuff. And so if I can just print where'd it go? If all I have to print is a new one of these each time, this hot end adapter, then I don't need to change anything. So essentially just change the mounting pattern here. This part slides up and down on the rail. So I can keep the same extruder or change it if you want. Move this up and down, add the new hot end onto there, and then I can test out a new hot end. You could test out a new extruder as well. It's just whatever you want to do. As far as this coming out at an angle, I don't mind that. I think it's fine. It actually might fit in there too a little better. I don't know. I need to play with it. There's some trimming I could do off this bracket. The board itself fits, like just barely kind of fits in there tight. But the way that I've designed it is a little bulbous here on the side. So once I trim that off in CAD, it should fit very snugly. So the idea is that I just wanted it to be quick release. So that goes on there, and I can have enough slack in here to pull that off, undo that, and then I could swap extruders if I want to. This is sort of more like a testing rig. But yeah, that is the plan. We kind of went through the overview on it. Let's finish that up here. So you have one motor at the front. This is, man, let's get all these tools out of the way. Been working on this like the last day and maybe an hour on Friday. All your tension adjustments here at the front motor, you get maybe 5 to 6 millimeters of adjustment on there. And this runs 6 millimeter belts. This is your motion. So it is core XY, if you're wondering about that. So you will do a core XY. The Z just moves vertically. So the Z is very rigid. Your hot end is going to be very rigid. And because of that, I didn't plan to use the input shaping on the tool head board. So what I did is you kind of see it if I turn it around. I just mounted right inside there. See if we can get close. Right inside there, I've mounted a nozzle input shaper probe from Provoke 3D. So I just drilled and tapped an M6 hole there and then secured it with a lock nut to make sure. And that's going to serve as the input shaper on XY. So it's rigidly mounted to the frame of the bed, and we can still do input shaper there. Motion Systems Neato. Yeah, I like it. This is the first Core XY bed printer that I have, and it's smaller, and I can also use it as a test rig. So I'm pretty excited to have it in the collection. For Z, we're just using a single motor here. This is just like you would find on a V0. Let's turn this around without knocking things over. All right, so this is a integrated lead screw Z motor here. Yeah, a carry handle. That way you can take it wherever you need to. And it runs on a Wobble X. So I keep messing it up, but there's a Wobble X in here. There we go. Yeah, every time I touch it and lift it, it comes off. But there's a Wobble X inside there. There you go. You can sort of see that. That keeps things from, wobbling. But this is just an integrated lead screw motor. It's 200 millimeters long. It goes down inside of the 2040. What the bearings in the Wobble X? They are just ball bearings. So wiggles around like that. I think you can see that on screen. But it just uses 2 ball bearings. They look like maybe, 4 millimeter in diameter. And then a set of pins. But it comes in a kit, Breath. You can find them. I think these came from Mello. They come like this. So you see you get the metal piece. There's some balls in there and some pins in there. You just need to print your part to accept the pins. And so you have an upper and a lower piece. And it sort of sandwiches that metal bracket in between. And so we have the printed part here. There's a printed part above it. And there are pins in both those printed parts. The downside, if there is any downside, is that they do not physically connect together. So if you invert the Z or turn the printer over or anything like that, be prepared for that to kind of fall out or separate. Buenos dias. Thanks for being here, Losync. Good morning. Just taking a look at the next little project. Yeah, so what questions do you guys have? What do you want to know? Guess we should look at this side. So bed heater comes out this side here, and those are covered, so I'm not in danger of shocking myself or anything like that. It is a PCB bed, so that's a custom item. You have to custom cut your magnet, which is fine. And then down here, you have 2 idlers using 5 millimeter hardware. And this is to route your belt around. build volume. Build volume, I think we measured it out. So it's about 100, 110. Here, we should use the bed plate. You missed the start? All good, Havoc. All good. You're here now. Ask away. What questions do you have? So in Y, it looks to be about 110. And then in X, you can get roughly 135 if you go edge to edge. But of course, you want to shrink that in a little bit. So maybe 130 by 105. And then I need to still add some. There are 2 holes here for stops. And I need to add those in there. But yeah, that's the little guy. So fun build. I got all what you see here. I did all of this yesterday. What Hotend am I going with? That's always the question. Can't talk about it. But I want to say, if we take a look at the GitHub, let's see what is supported. So there are STLs in here for, you can get a bamboo style, which is really good. Those are pretty cheap. So if you want to build this pretty cheap, you can by using a $35 bamboo style Hotend. Comes with all the different things you would need. And then you could do mosquito, a Revo, or a tea kettle. Revo is kind of cool. It's not going to flow as much as you would want if you're trying to chase for speed. But if you just want something that is reliable and you can swap Hotends, or I'm sorry, nozzles, then a Revo makes sense, especially if you have those laying around. And then the mosquito is going to be your upper end of things to be able to flow pretty well and keep things compact. Making a mount for a tube can work. Making a mount for tube could work. I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff that you could do. We looked at the Hotend bracket a minute ago. And so looking at it now, I'll take you here. This is the bracket. So whatever you could fit in this section, you could do, let's see, what do we got in the drawer here? We could do a Rapido Ace. That would fit in there pretty nicely. You could do a typical Rapido 2 if you wanted. You could do a dragon if you wanted to do that. I don't have a mosquito super handy, but you could do a mosquito. So it's very modular in what you are able to achieve. So whatever your hardware is, a lot of us probably have hardware laying around. You could just figure out what works best for you. Could do a PZ probe for leveling. You absolutely could do that. That's probably a little accurate, a little more accurate. What I'm choosing to do is this thing called a BD sensor. So this is the one from Mellow. You can get another one from Panda something. But Mellow makes it now. And it works similar to like a BL Touch in the sense that the cabling is the same. So Chris Riley, Chris's Basement, did a really good video on how to set this up. I watched it the other day. 5 cables or 5 wires, just like a BL Touch. And the pinout is on the board right there. So set it up the same, connect it to your main board or to your toolhead board, whatever you choose. And then there's a startup procedure and a leveling procedure. You will have to add Mellow's code to your Clipper install. So install the BD sensor dependencies first and then flash your firmware. And that should allow you to add a section called BD probe. And this is just an eddy probe. So it'll go down and it'll work like a traditional touch probe. Or you can have it do scan mode like you would on a beacon, but it's super compact. So this is just a BL Touch mount because the stock, the original design uses a BL Touch. And so I just whipped up this rigid mount here with a BL Touch flange, and it uses a very tiny M2 heat insert right there. And M2 screw to hold that in place. So that's that. That's how we're going to do leveling. But also you could do no leveling if you really wanted to. I mean, it's a tiny enough bed that you could get away with just sending it. Ooh, I need that cable. Let's do, what is this? No, I was looking at, here we go. Here's my mosquito. I haven't used it in a while. It's just in a bag. But we do have a mosquito as well. I was looking for some thermistor wiring earlier today, and I thought I was out, but it seems like it's in this drawer somewhere. Good. Good. What else? Let's see. Mello's been making some really cool. I agree, Yuri. They do have a lot, and I have a lot of Mello products. I really do. I have a lot of Big Tree Tech and Mello stuff. Everything from control boards, but Mello kind of branches out. They do things like this BD sensor. They do things like a tool head board, main board. The only thing that I would complain about is that they really kind of rely on their own version of Clipper, I'll say, because they have what they're calling Fly, and they flash all their boards with this Fly software. And because they use different chips, not STM or anything like that, it doesn't always take the typical Raspberry Pi firmware. You have to flash theirs. And just the way that it's set up is different enough, and I don't know Linux enough to like make it normal. But it kind of locks you out. So that's why I ended up with two different prints here, because I tried to go with the Mello stuff, but their board, their Raspberry Pi, I don't know, it wouldn't let me upload ShakeTune without a problem. I couldn't put PIAO on here. Like, it was just giving me issues, and I don't know enough about Linux to fix that. So in the instance of time and just getting the project to work, I had this M5P board laying around, so I just used that. They are doing a PV Goliath, Kitchell, that's true. Happy's a Mello fan. I'm a Mello fan, don't get me wrong. If you're going to go Mello, though, you should probably just stick to Mello. I like to run Calico and Kiao and stuff like that. If that's not you, then Mello is going to work just fine. Just upload their stuff. They make it fairly easy to plug and play. Let's see, what else? Lots of experimental printers on the bench. Yes. Yeah, Boothy's Flip is pretty awesome. If you haven't checked out the Boothy Builds channel, he just posted a short on a printer called the Flip. That is kind of a folding mini printer. It looks kind of like this. You got a square base, and then the vertical axis here folds down and packs away. So pretty cool concept over there. Low sync, I'm not using Pico, no. If I wanted to do anything, I would probably use this one here. I won this from E3D the other day, and they sent me not one focus, not one, but two of these Obsidian high flow Hotends for the Bamboo Lab X1. So I got the 0.4, and then they also sent me a 0.6. And 3 kilos of bamboo filament. Bam burner, it does. So Havoc, I plan to use the Bam burner on my Vivo over there when we rebuild that a little bit. Oh, thanks, Nathan. Yeah, I was surprised. I didn't even remember entering the contest. I see so much stuff all week long that I don't always remember what is what, or what I enter or what I don't. That's literally the first time I've won anything from like entering on Twitter. So that was surprising but exciting, and I was happy to do that. I'm currently running a 0.4 Obsidian on the X1 Carbon right now, so this one really just serves as a spare. I've had it installed in the X1 since it came out, I got in on batch 1 when they released these a year or more ago. Yeah, I've retweeted in one. Yeah, maybe. But I've been running this for over a year on my X1 Carbon. No issues. It works just fine. I've run glass fiber through it, carbon fiber through it, um, PLA, PETG. Like, it handles everything that I've thrown at it. It's nice to have a backup. I think what I'll do is the 0.6. I'll plan to put this into the Vivo and add on the BAM burner Hotend. So I have the parts printed over there. We just need to bring the Vivo down, put it over here on the workbench, and sort of refresh it a little bit. So redo the Hotend. There's a couple other updates I want to do on it. It's been a good machine. And Booty and I built ours, wow, probably more than a year ago. Correct me if I'm wrong, Booty, but more than a year ago, we built those. And he has 2 of them. I've got the one, and it's been a great machine. Printed quite a bit on it. I think I'm going to try to finish this up. But before we do, let's take a look at the CAD. I want to show this off. 2 years ago. Wow. Time flies. So this is the GitHub for the stuff and the things. I was sent a link for, I think this is just words. Yeah, words, do the stuff. There's some photo documentation in here that covers some of the older generations. The one that we did, the one that we built is the Mark 3.1. And you can go through these different pictures and kind of see how it's set up and what's going on with different things and stuff. I like this one because it shows me how the wiring should route, and that goes down into the case. So it's very clean. One thing we didn't mention is you can see in the bottom left here, you have the external power supply. I've got one of those sitting on the side over here. Oh yeah, Nathan, Booty Builds is the designer of the BAM burner, and Booty is awesome. You guys should collaborate on stuff because you make awesome Hotends, but so does Booty. Booty has done printer mods and all kinds of stuff. He's the guru of that stuff for me. I've done several of his projects with his help, and developed a really good friendship over time. So Booty's a great dude. Don't let him lie to you. He'll tell you otherwise, but he's lying. Yeah, so you can go through the projects here. I did not rotate these the wrong direction or anything. This is not my GitHub. I'm just showing off what's here. But you get a good idea of how things should go, and how it should look. So there is some photo documentation. There are CAD models in here. So you got the whole Fusion project right here. But I have a link. So this link gives me the online version of what it should look like. And this is what I was building from. Looking at the toolhead the other day on YouTube. You should build one, Happy. I've got parts for one. We'll take a look at it and install that on the Vivo. I am kind of in search of the next project. And maybe it's updating that to be to just refresh it a little bit. But this is the project here. Going through the CAD, you can get a good idea. It's not a difficult build. I didn't find myself disassembling and reassembling very much at all. What I ended up doing was looking at the frame first. So I built the frame first, like so, just getting these two 90 degrees to one another using the plates. And so once you get the plates cut, you have this one printed part right here, and then you can install your X rail, or I'm sorry, your Y rail. What to do when you finish your inertia? You should build one of these. So these are just a few extrusions. I got mine from Masumi. I tapped the ends of them myself. You're going to need to tap both ends of this extrusion here, both ends of this extrusion here, or no, you can get away with just one end. Okay, so both ends of this 40-40, one end of the 2040, both ends of the 1515, and then both ends of this vertical 2020 here. So I started by building the frame. I put the Y-axis MGN 12 on, and then I put my motors on. So that would be, and this one off, I did front stepper, rear stepper to the frame. So I ended up with something like that, okay? You want to do your front motor first because the wiring runs inside of this 4040 and exits right down here where there's a small cutout right there for your stepper motor wiring. So to exit right there and join this X motor and then go into your case, okay? So that's how I did it. And then from there, I did my front leg assembly. So that would be this one. So I added that on. Again, it uses a metal plate here and then printed parts on the ends with, I had some leftover Ender 5 feet, and that's what I used here. So once you get the 2 rubber feet on the front, you can do your rear foot, and then you end up with a tripod. Okay, and that's sort of the base that you build off of. Once you get this good and square, hey 3D Wolf, good morning. Once you get these good and square, you're more than halfway there, really. From this, I needed to kind of move it around, and adding the handle made sense to me. And so I added my handle next, just going right on the back there. And then I worked on this bed assembly. So starting with the carriage. So assembled the carriage here. You will need the block off your MGN 9. So if you don't have any of those rail retainer type things that take your, what's it called? I don't even know what it's called. I'll just show you. I've got some over here, but I've got these for, these came with my rails. These are, let's go back to face cam real quick. So these came with the rails that I ordered. I've got some for MGN 9, which is this, and then I've got more with my MGN 12. So these little blocks, bearing saver, sure, I guess that's a good name. This allows you to slide the carriage out. And so I took the rail out, installed these into the metal plates, and then that allowed me to put the sandwich together. These parts here are plastic, and they're just held on with M3 hardware. Your bearings are a little bit smaller. These are V0 bearings. So if you just order V0 bearings, you only need 10 of them. So you've got 8 here. You're gonna need some M3 washers, obviously. And then once I got that assembled, I could do my bed assembly. So that would be this, okay? So in here, you got 2 idlers here. These are going to need to be the smaller ones. So you need Gates idlers or mellow idlers that are Gates size. So if you get the Runus or any of those, it's not going to work for you. They're going to collide. The tolerance in between is very small, and so keep that in mind. You will need Gates idlers for that, and that uses M5 hardware throughout. There's a small plate here that connects the two. I don't have that, and I didn't order that. So I may need to find one or get one cut, but I did not have this shim to connect the top of those bearings. Does it matter? I don't know. Maybe it might over time as the tension on the belt sort of pulls them together. I don't know. I plan to figure that out later. I'll order something later that makes sense there. We have not routed belts yet. But then the next thing you need is your magnet, right? And your bed top. So this would be your PCB. So once you get the X-axis set up, you can add the bed bracket here. It just uses 3 M3s to hold it. This center one, I put a standoff on mine. And the bed, the PCB has a hole through the middle for that standoff. and that sets your 0 point. So there's a standoff here, not this screw, and then these two are what you see. You've got M3 hardware bolting everything down and using nylock nuts as spacers. So this looks like carbon fiber in the CAD model I'm looking at, but in reality, it's a PCB. And then we added a magnet to that. And then we have the steel sheet with your flex coating on top of there. So that was the next main assembly that I did. And then finally, we topped it off with the Z assembly here. Find that in the tree. This guy was a little more involved. It's a, you're going to need your 2020. And then this being thick, like 6 mil aluminum, it uses 3 pins here to wedge itself into the 2020. And then it bolts through. So you bolt the plate on and then pin it in there with those pins like that. The bed moves in XY, yes. I think Golbs, is that how you say it? Golbs? I can take you back over to the toolbox here and show you in a second. But you've got that big thick plate that your motor mounts to, and then in between you have your Wobble X stuff. You can see that motor just goes down inside the extrusion. So length is not hugely important. You do have quite a bit of 2020 to get through. So if you had a 250 screw, that might work. Mine is a 200. That's really all you need. And those are easily found on Amazon. I found this motor on Amazon. Man, I think it was less than 20 bucks for the motor. Something like $18 for that motor. I have 2504 motors for X and Y just in my stash. And so 3 motors. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of extrusion and some plastic. So roughly, you could probably get away roughly with about 300 bucks because once you send off the plates to send, cut, send, that's going to add some cost for something like this. Then you got to throw in some hardware. The PCB is a little different, so you have to get that made. And then whatever you choose for a Hotend and extruder is going to add some cost. But if you're looking to stay on the low end, I'd probably stick with the Bamboo Lab Hotend. Maybe an orbiter, extruder, a couple of fans, you'll be fine. Roughly $300. There's a big move to Core XY style printers lately, away from bed slingers. I agree. But yeah, this moves in XY, like so. Once we put belts on here, the bed will be XY. The Z-axis is the Hotend itself, just moving vertically. Never seen this before. I think I've seen it back in the day. It sort of fell out of favor because the more you move your print bed around, that is what's shaking your print. So the taller that print got, the top of that thing could wiggle, and you end up with less desirable build quality at higher Z heights, unless you slowed things down a little bit. And so there is a downside to having a moving bed. That's why something like a V0, I'm sorry, not a V0, a V2.4 is kind of nice, or the Solval 08 is kind of nice because the bed is static and just the print head moves. But that introduces its own challenges. So yeah, we need to add some belts on here, and then it can just do whatever it's got to do. So we can get full travel. It does use sensorless homing. There are no end stops here. So X and Y will be sensorless. It's running 2209s is what I plan to use. And then same on Z. Your electronics enclosure mounts to the frame. Yes, it does. I haven't put it on yet because of reasons. But it'll mount upside down like so. We'll have a fan here, and then this mounts underneath, sort of turned around sideways like that, and it mounts right there like that. Power supply is separate though. That's the only sort of downside, is you do have a port here to plug in a power supply. That's why these are just kind of flopping around. I haven't connected anything electronic yet. And this needs to be separate. So this will be lying around somewhere. The devs have created the best looking thing they could. So I'm using a 350. These are, you know, 28 bucks, 30 bucks on the Amazons. So they've got this with a cover that goes on to keep your little fingers safe. And then from here, they have feet that are printable out of TPU using the extra holes in the power supply as mounting locations. And that will sit flat like that. You could design your own stuff and sit it this way if you prefer. I'm sure that if you got really fancy, you could fashion yourself a bracket that connects it to the back of the machine, but you would have to lose your handle right there. There's lots of stuff you could do. You could probably mount it up front here on the extrusion if you really wanted to. There's the CADs out there. You guys can make it however you like. I'm just going to leave mine loose, and I'll just have it kind of tucked away. I need to shorten up these wires. These are for the mains wiring. I haven't connected anything yet. So that'll go there. And then you have, I got this long, this is a 2 meter long, or not 2 meter, 1 meter long flex cable for power. So this side will go into the Manta, and then this will give me room to place that power supply wherever I like. I don't know that I'm gonna keep it a meter long, but I like having flexibility, so I bought the meter size. Now mount a UHP 350 across the front strut to make it more compact and add weight to the base. You could absolutely do that. I did not have a 350 UHP. Actually, I have no UHPs at all, I don't believe. Let's see what we got in the drawer. Yeah, so I've got a 360 watt in here, and I've got a small, what is this? I got a small 90 watt. So this IRM might be an option if you could find this IRM in sufficient voltage. I don't know that they make something this small in a 350, but this is a 48 volt power supply. So it'll take mains and then give you 48. This is about as small of a power supply as I've seen, but it's only 90 watts. So that would not work. And I don't know that, I think even if you had a 24 watt, this would still only be 180. So with a 24 volt heated PCB bed and the Hotend we're running, and then motor power and stuff like that, I really think you need that 350. And UHP would work. I've got one on the Minion over there. I've also picked this up. This is a 24 volt, 300 watt, but it's made for LEDs. That's why it's so compact. I thought about using this, and it just so happens that it matches very closely the bed plate in that blue color. So I thought about using this. This is a 300 watt. It's very compact. It fits on the front bar within the length of the feet. So it doesn't even extend past this foot here. And that would be super compact. There is no mounting locations on these though, so it would need to clamp in some way. So I'd have to design something. And I've never used something like this on a 3D printer before. It does say 300 watt, 24 volt. That should like barely be enough to control all the things. And output's 24. I just don't know how quality it is. So maybe down the road, we add something like this to keep everything in one tight package. But that would definitely need to be mounted here. There's no room on the back side of that extrusion to do it. You could add it here. I think there's enough clearance. No, so this bracket is kind of in the way, but you could do something like that right there, upside down, just to keep junk from falling inside. Could do something like that. That might be pretty tidy. And that clears the bed. This actually sticks up pretty high off the extrusion, which is something that the devs and I had discussed. We're working on making that lower, gain a little Z height here. Center of gravity be down towards the extrusion a little more. So should be pretty good. So UHP is a great idea, Stephen. We'll see how it works out. What print speeds do I expect from this beast? All of them. I expect all the print speeds. No, let's be honest. So it's kind of a loaded question. It's probably capable of moving 20K at 500. I think that's perfectly achievable based on the rigidity of this thing. Now, will that give me quality prints? Probably not. This was just sort of using up some hardware, testing out Hotends, using it as a test rig, but speed-wise, they were running it pretty fast at Rocky Mountain. I think it can do the same. Some improvements that we could do is with the belting. I'm just going to use I get these extra little bit of timing belt here. These are some Gates leftover GT2. If I ran GT3 instead of this GT2, I could get a little bit higher belt tension, but then I'm running into the motors here. These 5mm shafts start to bend at a certain tension. So then, we can go down the rabbit hole and potentially use something like this here with an 8mm shaft on it, which will handle a lot higher belt tension. But the shaft is so long that after you mount that, you're getting pretty close to the bed there. And I mean, luckily it clears, but 8mm shaft is definitely overkill on something like this. But if you wanted to get weird, you could do it. You could do it and get all the internet points. But I think right now I just want to see if we can belt this thing up, get a little bit of progress. I think we've answered all the questions. If anybody else has questions about the machine itself or things like that, please ask. But I'm going to try to belt this. That's the one thing I am not sure of is how it should go. I look for the belt. Okay, so it's one continuous belt. Connecting here. Hey, the Reverend, good morning. So we're connecting on one side, we'll route through, pretty self-explanatory, and route back out. Okay, so one long belt path. I like it. I'm going to try and tension this as much as I can by hand first before we start using any of the adjustment here at the motor. So that's as loose as it can be, and we'll keep that all the way back and see how much of a pain it is to route belt on this thing. Bearings are pretty small, but I mean, after belting this guy, the inertia cube, this thing should be a breeze. One thing I didn't do or notice is that on the tension side of this thing, the retention side, excuse me, there's not a cover that prevents the belt from slipping out. I don't think it will, but it's always possible, right? Anything could happen. So maybe that's worth a redesign of the part to slide this in. It just uses a detail in the printed part that mimics the belt pattern. So it's a friction fit in there, and it should not pull out, but having a cover over the top of that might be a quality of life improvement that I do a little bit later for peace of mind. Hey, Ekozad, good morning. Back again to check out the new project, huh? Yeah, today's more of a chat and chill. We're just talking about this a little bit, showing it off. I didn't really want to build it on stream. Not that it's hard or difficult. I built what you see here I built this in about 6 hours yesterday. That's after I collected all the parts and everything. So you'll need to do that. Make sure you have everything on hand before you start. There's a bomb on the GitHub page. It does not have an average cost, but I'll tell you, I used M3 hardware, so one of those kits that have 500 piece M3 hardware in assorted sizes. That's going to work well for you. Most of what we use are M3 by 8s and M3 by 10s. The bed uses some M3 by 20s. Otherwise, M5 by 10, and in some places M5 by 8 are really all you need. I used socket head cap screws for most of it. On the bed, I used butt head cap screws. A few extrusions, some custom plates from Send will help you out, and then some linear rails and printed parts. Pretty simple, straightforward. Looks great. Thanks, man. I like it. I didn't plan to have a dual colored machine with the green and the gray, but I ran out of green, and I haven't been by Liz's house yet to pick up any more power tool green. So I just used the Ambrosia gray ASA that I had on hand. It was already loaded. I thought it looked pretty good. It matches the frame pretty well. And I like that the belt path is super easy on this one. Single belt, it's going around all the things. I've not tightened down my my pulleys on my motors because I want to see where things land and how the motion works. And then once those things fall into their natural position, I will adjust accordingly. All right, so I'm seeing like, okay, I thought for a second there that things were going to be like rubbing against plastic parts, but it looks like things clear. Yeah, they so tight of a clearance there. Got a Ryobi vibe? It is, right? So power tool green, what Polymaker calls it, is definitely Ryobi green. They just can't say that. But happy, I'm with you. That's why when they first released that high temp PLA, I gravitated towards the power tool green. I just made the mistake of only ordering 1 kilo instead of 2, because I ordered 1 black and then 1 of this power tool green. I should have got 2 greens. Sorry if you see my bad head here, but I need to get this belt in behind these idlers. You got 1 kilo? I'm good now, man. So that's one thing to point out is had I not printed 2 electronics cases, and had I not printed these extra parts here that I'm probably not going to use, had I not done that, I would have had enough for this entire printer. So assuming you have 0 fails, and I luckily did not, all of the printed parts on this you can do in 1 kilo. So it's a super affordable build, not just in hardware, but in filament cost as well. You can use, because it's open frame, you could use PLA. You could use PETG if that's your thing. So whatever color under the sun, you don't have to be limited by the available ABS colors. And let's face it, we all know that ABS color is getting better in selection wise, but it's still not as I'm trying to think of the word here, as crazy and unique and different and varied, there's the word, varied, as a PLA or a PETG would be. So a lot more color options on that side. And so kind of got a twofer in this one. Get to try out some of their new PLA to see how much stronger it is. And then also we get to try different colors. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know of an ABS that is in Ryobi green or power tool green, whatever they want to call it. I don't know of an ABS that works. All right, and so just like that, we are belted. So trying to get my big hand back here in this backside of this idler and stuff while trying to route things. Not the easiest thing to do, but if that's the hardest part of it, I'm okay. So I'm just going to put a little bit of tension on there and see what happens. Looks like everything is aligned. Rat rig green comes close. I differ with you, Steven. This is the power tool green. Let me grab. So I have rat rig green. 1 second. What do I do with it? That's the blue. I've got some rat rig green. Where'd it go? Right here, I believe. Yeah, rat rig green. So this is rat rig green. Let me open this one. It's once I put these side by side, you'll see the rat rig green is more neon. So this is your rat rig green compared to your power tool green. Very much brighter, more neon. This is more yellow. It's yellow, it's matte. This is also glass fiber, so it's very matte. Yeah, it is darker. Darker here, more yellowish, green yellow on the Ryobi side. This is rat rig green ASA. Not exactly the same. Very, very close. Now I can't close the box. There we go. So yeah. Almost done with the belt. I just need to put some tension on there. We'll get it into the slot. And then it just kind of holds its tension on its own. I will redesign this part. That'll be something I upload to GitHub as well. I made a fork of this. So if you are interested in building your own and you want to use some of the exact same parts that I'm using here, I don't have everything uploaded yet, but you could follow my fork on the GitHub and it'll give you all of my parts. I plan to have my config on there. Just keep in mind that it is running Calico, not mainline Clipper. And I'll upload these parts as well. Just using the end of a tool. Press that in there, make sure we are as far into the slot as possible. And I've got two teeth hanging out on this end here, and then put the remainder, however much that is. So I probably only need about 1 meter of belt for this. And these are belts I stole. These belts came off of an old Ender 5, I want to say. So I salvaged as much as I could, sold the frame off, salvaged, belts, idlers, that kind of thing. Sold the frame off to a guy that was planning to just build I think he was building a 0G Mercury or something. And yeah, try not to throw away things that I know I could possibly use later. Oh, just threw that across the room. Take that off before I lose another one. Sweet. So the cool thing is, without having two belts, I don't care about one being longer than the other or anything like that. Like matching belt lengths, not a thing on this printer. Probably should have left myself a little more than two teeth on either side, but we're here now. And belt is cheap. This right here is what I got left. So about that much left. That's nearly enough to do the whole machine. So 1 meter of belt is probably all you need. What did you say? Never mind. It's not grass green. It's their lime and poly light ABS. Grass green is kind of close. Yeah, grass green is much more dark. I've got I've got some of their neon, I've got some of their galaxy green, and some of their regular green, and it's all good. It's all darker than the Ryobi green though. That's a very unique color. I don't know of anything that's close to that. But now it is belted, and it's pretty smooth. We can Loctite these pulleys in place. Some of that, and this guy here. And then we probably we'll finish up the bed wiring here, put some loom on that, get that good to go. I have to extend out my thermistor cables. One thing that I forgot to mention is because this is a PCB bed, the thermistor is mounted the same way as it would be on a Mark III or Mark IV. So you have the glass bead thermistor that goes in the bottom of the bed, a little bit of thermal paste. You put the aluminum tape on top and then Captain over top of that. I didn't show that on here, but we can really quick. So the bed comes off with just some M3 thumb screws. So the same thing that we would use as a standoff on a V2. The V2 uses a 4mm standoff. This is a M3 standoff because we're using them as intended to hold the bed. You could put larger wheels on here if you really wanted to. I know that there are mods out there on printables and stuff that use an M3 heat insert, and you can make some larger wheels. Maybe you do that if you have a hard time with something this small, but maybe you don't. The bed comes off, and then again we have that center screw there. So this is a low head or a low profile screw in the center, so it sits below the magnet. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it's a low head screw, not a button head. Not a button head. And then from there, we should be able to pull this off. So you'll see inside, we've got the tape, and then that's covered with a big piece of Captain there. And then your thermistor just comes out the bottom. We've got coverage over the terminals, so there's no chance that I'm gonna, touch something I shouldn't. It's pretty nice, and you can sort of see the standoff of the two nylock nuts we have there. As far as the bed goes, there's my standoff in the center. There is a M3 set screw that's a roughly 10mm long that goes down into, because this is 15-15, that's hard to say. I chose to use some of these square nuts. So I got a pack of these square nuts that are M3 size, and that's all that's going to fit in here. I tried to use those no-drop nuts from the V0 build that will hold your hex M3 nuts in there. They don't fit in the Masumi 15-15, okay? They will fit in the LDO version, but Masumi is different in the small size. But these thin square nuts did work for me, and that's how I am using M3 hardware through this bracket, is with square nuts. So these need to be M6, and what I would recommend is that you put the hardware on first onto the bracket and then slide the extrusion in, because if not, they sit too deep into the extrusion to be able to reach. And if you go with an M8, it's going to bottom out in the extrusion before it gets tight. So those three, you need to pay attention. The center with the standoff, I want to say that's a 10mm standoff. Where did I do with my ruler? Here we go. Yeah, so that's a 10mm standoff, M3 threaded. There's a, what do you want to call it? A set screw. That's an M3 set screw, also 10mm long, goes down into that square nut. Standoff goes on top of that to keep things tight. So this serves as a screw, and then it also gives me a boss to be able to put this flathead screw in there. Little complicated. If you look at the CAD, it doesn't show it that way. So maybe you don't have to do it that way, but there is that hole in the center of the bed. So I chose to use it. I just chamfered the magnet a little bit with my chamfering tool on both sides of the magnet, and that made a very clean install there. As far as bed leveling goes, there's probably not going to be much of it. My nylock nuts are kind of bottomed out and they serve as standoffs at this point. They're, all the way tight. And that's just enough to get that center screw to be able to get tight without flexing the bed. And then we'll have to use leveling to get up and down a little bit. So I don't expect leveling on this to ever really be perfect, but with the BD sensor, it should adjust for that real time, and it should not matter as long as you're within a reasonable range. You're not gonna have to worry about bed leveling on something like this. It is very small, so everything should really just kind of be rigidly mounted on here. So far, I'm seeing a lot of positives on what you guys are thinking about this particular project. Anybody sold on building one? The hardest, I won't say hard. That wasn't hard. The custom cut plating is going to be the biggest thing for you guys. That in the bed, right? But if you go to PCBWay or JLC PCB, you get the PCB done. They can cut all the plates for you all in one shot and just give you a thing. Steve says it's on the list. Yeah, we talked about it, Steve. I'm glad that you're gonna join in. I think you're like me, where you like the smaller printers that are different. And this was different enough for me to dive in. So here we are. Let's see. Can fit more of them in the shop. Steve, what number are you up to now? This makes, I'm back up to 24 with this one. I didn't want to be back up at 24, but here we are. You have to make a list. I think we all have to make it. 32, 33. Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot. I don't want to be at 20. I don't want to be at 30. I literally do not have room. They'd be stacked on the floor. So you can already see we got the rat rig down here because two reasons. Number one, it's too big to fit on the racks that I have. There's also no room over there. And then also the floor is the most stable, being solid concrete. So that sits directly on the floor. Right behind that, on this side, behind the inertia cube here, is the Delta FL Sun S1. So that sits there also because it's way too tall. And then the inertia cube is still here because I need to make room on the shelf for it. So the one space that I have is occupied by an Ender 6. I'm going to rehome that machine, and I don't mean G28 rehome. I mean find a place for it to go that is not here. And that machine will find a new life with a new owner. Once that happens, I'll move the inertia cube down. I'm still playing with it though, still tuning it in. Need to figure out some layer shifting issues with that. Might be because of the heat of the motors, might be because of some binding somewhere or something. I don't know yet. I gotta go through it and figure it out. You only have 3, plus you're gonna buy one this afternoon. We all start somewhere, Havoc. I would not recommend 24 printers or 32, 33-ish printers. They become a lot to maintain. And, the space requirement is huge on something like that. But I think Steve and I are like-minded in the sense that we enjoy the build process of it more than the, using of them. Steve, I don't know if you dropped out and dropped back on, but the belt path on this was really nice. It's just one single belt, sort of in a cross T shape, and not having to run 2 equal length belts, definitely a positive on this one. Hey, Iconic Fab. What do you think, buddy? This looks like something you would make. This is kind of a cross between um, your heat insert press and a V Minion and I don't know, like a mill, all in one. This looks like something you would build. Try to line this up the best as possible. It's not super critical. I just don't want the belts rubbing on the top or the bottom of the flanges because then you get belt wear in places that you don't really want it to be. So if you see like the top edges of your belt starting to fray or create dust, it's probably because they're rubbing on either the pulley or the idler somewhere, and so you probably need to adjust the heights of the pulleys. I'm trying to prevent that out the gate. We can make adjustments later if we have to. But before I forget, I want to Loctite these set screws here. Oh, Steve, you're still around. I did get some good news on our project. I think our mutual acquaintance here will come through and get me what I need sooner than later. I'm hoping that you're the same. I mean, definitely I will wait for you, but I just wanted to pass that bit of good news since we talked last week. That's the update I got. So I was super pumped. I hope that works out. But it looks like it'll be maybe a little bit later this month before we can make that a reality. I got a little ham-fisted here, I can see. So I don't know if you can see that on camera. You see how that's kind of bowed out? I think what happened is there's a detail on the backside of this printed part that interfaces into the slots, and they're not sized exactly right for these extrusions. And so when I tighten that down, it sort of bowed this and it cracked it there and there. I may need to reprint this upper piece, but I mean, it's good so far, and it's decorative anyway. Like, it's just a handle. I mean, it is useful. I won't say it's fully decorative, but yeah, I just noticed I cracked that, so be careful. Sweet. Let's extend some thermistor wires, and we'll wrap this up with some cable sleeve. I dropped one of my what's that thing called? The heat shrink thing? Solder seal. That's the word. Solder seal. This guy. But I like these for extending wiring out. I just need 2 of these. I'm using the white one due to the wire size. They make them in different sizes. I use these for all sorts of butt connections. Bigger wires will need different ones. So we'll probably cut these down to length. I don't know that they need to be this long. Right now they are maybe 2 feet long. Yeah, 2 feet long, maybe 500 millimeters long. A little bit too long. They just need to go from the front here where we are to the case, which is, you know, right in the center of the machine down low. So your wiring can be super clean. I'll probably run either a steel wire through here and zip tie that on so I get a nice radius on it, or maybe a thick piece of nylon like weed eater string, and that'll keep a nice curve through there as this moves around. I don't want it to be floppity and catch around a front leg or anything like that. So we'll go through what that looks like. What's next? Wiring. So down in the drawer, I've got a bunch of thermistors, and I have no problem sacrificing one for science. Just need to find a thermistor that I can use. I think we'll use this one. So I'm just using, what is this? An off-the-shelf thermistor of some kind. It's probably a $39.50. I'm really just in it for the wire anyway, and it already comes with the JST on the end. It even came with a little bit of a heat break. What is this for? No idea. But it came in a kit that I got for something. So we'll save those for later. And then for this, it's way too long anyway. So I'm just going to cut the end off. We'll use this to connect to that. And that'll be that. What I want to do though is install that electronics box. We'll turn this over gently. There we go. Let that sit where it's going to sit. And then we'll put this electronics box on the bottom here. And move the camera down just a touch. Like that. We'll zoom you in just a little bit as well. Okay. So right across the bottom of this, really, the only thing you need to worry about is that this front leg is far enough forward so that you have room to mount your electronics on here like so. And then once you do that, you're golden. So we got enough room in there to do that. And this is what I was talking about. The front motor comes up and through the bottom of the bracket. There's a little cutout there. It goes inside the extrusion, and it exits back here at the rear and joins the other motor wiring and goes right back into the case. So I need to sort of prop this up because it's not going to work the way it is. Is this available as a kit? No, sir. It is not available as a kit. And I just heard my Z-axis fall away. I don't want to lose those ball bearings. Where'd they go? I saw the ball bearings move. One is under the inertia cube. The other one went somewhere. I don't know. That's going to suck if I lose those. Oh, I see it. Okay. Again, downside of the Wobble X is that these are loose. They're not static on there like that. So if you lose the balls, you're effed in the A. Okay. So we'll shorten these up later. I need to figure that out. So these are going to go over to the input side of the manta like so. I want to leave a little bit of slack in there, so maybe we do something like that and have that nice radius in it. This part here, this is the USB hub of the Nighthawk. What I did is I printed this out of the black high temp PLA from Polymaker, and then I used a little bit of 3D glue to just glue that on. My plan later is to modify this. I'll just integrate that piece into the part itself, and I'll upload that as a remix on my fork of the GitHub. And that way you guys won't have to glue it on. That way you don't need any 3D glue or anything. But I thought that was a good position. I have direct access out of the port for the toolhead wire to come in here. And then my positive negative wire can come over and get power from one of the ports here, probably the heater. And then my USB cable can be right here and go into either this port for communication, or it can actually come out, and this is a little ugly, but it'll come out of the hole right there, and then it can flip around and connect in there. Not the cleanest, but it is a way, and just orienting things around, that's the best way I could figure on how to do it. We'll get into wiring later, or maybe we won't. I'm not sure. Again, this is not meant to be like a straight up build stream. This is more of like, let's take a look at the project. This is more fun for me on the backside. So should sit something like that. Just need some M5 hardware and it'll be set. So I'm going to use, like I was talking about, M5 by 10 on this. I want to say that's what the BOM called for. I'm sorry, the CAD called for. But there are no instructions, so you do what you want to do. It's your build. That's too big. Let's get one of these. Hey, Jason. Ooh. So I tried to keep all the M5 stuff the same. That way I only have to have one tool. That's why you're seeing me use button heads. Normally I'd probably prefer to use socket head just to have more of a bite. But button heads look good and you have to use them in certain places. So just keeping everything consistent cuts down on the number of different items you need. And so far, having, I think I ordered 100 of these button heads, M5 by 10 button heads, and they work great. Speedy power steppers. Maybe this is able to go burr after all. It's definitely going to go burr. Now, whether or not it prints well, we'll find out, but it's definitely going to go burr. The other thing that's not really in the CAD model, but more of my preference is I have a lot of those. I need to find a place for this. I have a lot of those like roll-in T-nuts, the ones that don't move when you move the printer around. And because I have a lot of those, that's what I've been using in the frame parts. Frame parts, if I could speak. Frame parts. But you could use the drop-in T-nuts as well. I prefer to use these just because they don't move around on me. Jason, I don't know if you're talking to me or somebody else, but I am doing well. Went for a run this morning with my boss. Kind of our bonding thing we do. He's a good dude. And got back just in time for a stream. I'll do it like that. And then take a measurement on where these should be. Yeah, so those need to move down a little more. I'll put that there. How are you, Jason? I don't know if I have seen you here much before. I think you're new. I lose track though. So I participate in a lot of streams, and then I see a lot of the same people in these streams, and so I lose track of who is who sometimes. So I apologize if you have been here. Yeah, I'm gonna push these all the way out of the way, and then we'll slide them back to where they need to be once we get this initial set. Just fighting off some pneumonia. Oh, pneumonia. That sucks, dude. I'm sorry. I had pneumonia a lot when I was a kid. And when I broke my ribs in 2022, one of the things that they told me was that I needed to make sure that I did the breathing exercises that they recommend, because if not, the shallow breathing that I was doing with broken ribs could cause pneumonia. And that scared me enough to say, yes, fine, I'll do it. I'm choosing to slide my electronics case as far forward as possible so that when I put the wiring through this back port here, that I have enough room between the extrusion and the case to have enough space. I think there's a pretty significant loom that comes through if you are not doing a tool head board, and you want to have enough room for that to sort of move around if you need to. But you do have enough adjustment to kind of do what you need to do here. Yeah, scary. I mean, I think you'll be okay with today's medicine. We do. I don't want to say normal. It's not normal to get pneumonia, but the more common things that go on, we do pretty well with stuff like that. All right. Keep in mind this is plastic. It is PLA as well, and it's glass-filled PLA, so you don't want to wrench down on it, but that is that. Try not to lose the balls again. Okay. And so that's what it should look like. But I wanted to be sure about where the wiring goes on the bed. Let's take a look. Port access on the case looks great. Yeah, there's a lot of space in here. I don't use an Ethernet port, but they did leave it open here to have access to that. And then I've got great access to my SD card, my 2 USB ports, and then the other 2 ports here, the USB-C and the HDMI. So if you wanted, so I thought about using like a little positron screen, because that just connects via USB, and use that as my clipper screen. Or even better and simpler, a little more pricey though, is like a K-Touch. Connect a K-Touch to this USB-C port, and then I have a screen. But I've also got that V0 micro display that all I would need to do is just design a little, like a little case for it, and then mount it to the front leg or something like that. And then I would have a screen that I could use that's really tidy. Looks really nice, thanks. Not my design. All credit goes to Dan and Cam for making this thing. Good dudes. I talked with them quite a lot at Rocky Mountain. I got to figure out how this is going to go. Let's see. I think it goes through the back side. I'm not sure. So these extra bodies down here, these are the wiring looms. They're not named as such, but just letting you know that's what they're called. What am I looking for? The bed assembly, front foot handle, carriage, sure. Frame, sure. MCU, okay. Shooter, no. X. Call it X, not bed. Okay, so bed wires come out and then goes through the, looks like the top there. That makes me think that I have my case flipped around, and yes, I do. So I need to turn the electronics case 180. I put that in completely upside down just now. No problem. That's why I couldn't figure it out. It's like, what is happening? All right, before I lose this, I'm going to take these other 2 balls out of here. I'm really worried about losing these things. I don't have any. I have a replacement kit for a Wobble X. I've got one other kit, so I could just steal the ball bearings out of that, but I don't want to if I don't have to. So I'm going to take those out for the sake of making my life easy. Gentle, put that down. Okay. And then I'm just using the 1, 2, 3 block to prop up the backside. Otherwise, the case hits the floor. So this needs to just basically turn over. And that's something I should have checked before I put it on. But this is where the power of those roll-in T-nuts come into play. Because now they're going to stay in position. They're not going to move when I remove this. So I should just be able to flip it and put those right back on. With these drop-in kind, they can rotate. Even if you leave them on the screw, they can rotate, and then they don't want to go where they need to be. So we'll just do it like so. That'll go that way, and then we can go right back on in the same location as before. And again, just giving them a little bit of a snug. They don't need to be super tight. You definitely don't want that rattling or coming loose. And then, of course, there's a nice cover here that'll go like this. Like this. You can see where I ran out of power tool green. I had to substitute black. I would have loved to have put gray in there, but I didn't have any gray PLA. But I did have the black high temp PLA. And so I finished off the last like 8 minutes of the print with black PLA. And you can't tell, but I know it's there. Once I put the cover on, though, it almost looks like a rubber seal around the case. But we all know it's not. So nice little case to keep fingers and things from getting in there. TPU gasket. There you go. It looks like one. I need to print some TPU feet anyway for that power supply. This is how it should be. Now, there is this port here. I'm not sure if you can see that on camera very well, but there's a port right up under this corner, and that's where those bed wires should be coming down. That's why I said it was backwards. We turn this back up. There we go. These bed wires now and come around and go inside there. I just wanted to have a good idea of how long I need to make these thermistor wires, because right now I have no idea. So just trying to create something that is making sense, and then that goes down inside. I'll tell you what, I'll just make it as long as I can without being too aggressive, and then we can cable manage on the inside. Supply wires 8 gauge. No, I thought the same when I saw it. You talking on the bed or on the power supply? These I ordered on Amazon. They're 12 gauge. They're 12 gauge, but they came soldered on the XT60 as 12 gauge. So yeah, it's a thing. I ordered, it's just a little bracket that kind of screws in. I am not very good at soldering XT connections, and I knew that I would struggle with that, so I just got some with pigtails, and I didn't really think about the gauge at all. But yeah, it's 12 gauge. Just over 4K, had to come home, too hot. Do the rest later. Love Power Tool Green. Yeah, I need to swing by and pick up the rest from you, Liz. Yeah, Power Tool Green. This looks like a power tool. It kind of looks like a mill. So I figured, what better way to use my Power Tool Green than to put it on a power tool. So I'm just trying to measure out like how much of this extra thermistor I'm going to need. So I'll just make it as long as the power wires are. And if I need to trim down, it's just, 2 crimps at the end. If not, I'll just keep it the way it is. We'll be fine. And there's still enough left over on this wire to be able to use the thermistor for something else. So I think that's like that's got to be a 3-meter thermistor. We'll get to that later. You have teal, red, and yellow. Do a rainbow. Wow. That's a lot. I only picked up 2 kilos because I think I would delayed maybe like an hour or so before I ordered mine, and an hour was enough to make most things go out of stock. Luckily, Power Tool Green was still in stock. I was able to get black. Black goes with everything, and that's it. That's it. I could spend $1,000 every time I go to Polymaker because they have so much good stuff. I have a whole wall. Over there is a whole wall of Polymaker. Behind me is the Ambrosia stuff and Bamboo Lab stuff, and kind of whatever else I have from before. But Polymaker, Ambrosia, and Bamboo Lab is what I use the most. Hey, Ken Davis. Howdy ho. All right, we need to solder seal these. So this is what I like about these things. That's why it's my go-to. I just put these together, strip a little bit, put these together like so. We get the, I used my tweezers here and just go deep into it, smash that solder seal together, and that mechanically holds my wires enough so that I can hit it with a torch as I stretch across the desk. Hit it with a torch, and I like to seal the ends first. That way it helps me hold the wire, and then kind of go back and forth across the middle to solder things together. Trying not to burn the wire, as you will with something like this. Could I use a heat gun? Yeah. Should I use a heat gun? Yeah. But I didn't. Hey, Double T. Here to check out the project, huh? Love it, man. So as that cools, it should solidify. Just trying to keep it straight so it cools in a straight line instead of wherever. It is still rather hot, though. Double T, you gonna build one, bud? Okay, so that should be good. I'm gonna do the same on this other one here. I want to take a little more off this wire. Of course. You're gonna go with what color theme are you going with? I chose power tool green and gray. Napping, hello, thanks for being here. This is a Polymaker power tool green. If you want to pick some up, I think it's still out of stock, but there's an affiliate link that helps out the channel in the description if you want to pick up some Polymaker. This is their high temp PLA actually, so it's not ABS, it's high temp PLA glass fiber on power tool green. You want to do one all white, that would be cool. Like you're talking like white extrusions as well? I thought about doing all yellow because with Masumi you can get yellow extrusions, but they only make them in certain sizes. I think it's like 2020 you can get a 3030, but when you go into 4040 and 2040 and 1515 you can't get yellow. And if you're going all white, that'd be cool. There's a handy notify me button. Yeah, tracking. Yeah, I've already I stay signed up for several of their filaments because they're almost always out of stock. I love Polymaker stuff. See if you can CNC machine guy can powder coat for you. Yeah, I would like to. I don't know. I didn't. I need. I feel like if I'm gonna powder coat a frame, I want to go high end, like on everything. I can't have this super awesome frame and then cheap out on other stuff. So I would want ceramic idlers and all that kind of stuff. Not saying that this one is cheaped out, but it's meant to be more affordable, and it definitely is. I think we were talking before you got here. I think it's roughly around $300 if you had to purchase everything, and that includes CNC parts and whatever else. If you have the ability to CNC them at home, that's even better. And then if you can, let's see, cut your own extrusions and cut your own rails, yeah, you can get that cost down pretty significantly. Obviously, I'm just using hardware that I already have laying around. So motors I had around, I had to order the Z motor. Belts I had, main board I had, PLA I had. So all of those are fine. Need to find a 60 millimeter fan here. Go ahead and get that put on. Where are all my fans? Well, thought I had a fan. I guess I don't. We might have to order a fan. That's fine though. Or what if we put one of the what if we put this 4028 on there? Like what would that do? That's overkill. Don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah, I thought I had some fans around. I guess I do not. I think we might have used them on the inertia cube, and I forgot to get more for this project because I don't see any more 60 millimeter fans. That's unfortunate. But also fine. It's just a fan. We don't need it right away. Okay. You can't do powder coat when you see a scuff or scratch, you cry. Powder coat should be pretty durable for stuff like that. And then if you went... So what I would really like to see, and this probably wouldn't work because you need to bolt stuff to the extrusion. What I would like to see... Hey, thanks, Vlogging Peacock, for the sub. Appreciate you. I think powder coating adds a thickness to the frame. So if you get too thick on that, you won't be able to bolt anything to the frame. So that's the only downside. But yeah, I would like to do a powder coated frame. The only frame I ever got from DLL PDF was for a easy bake frame that we did on the Trident. And I just got the standard black. It wasn't super powder coated like that. Okay, I think that's enough to be able to put this in a loom. I got two options, guys, and I'll throw it out to the chat to see what you guys think. We have some wire covering that looks like this. That sort of matches the build a little more, being gray and stuff like that. Or we could go with the standard, which would be sort of a black like this, and just keep things stealth. Going back to the case over here. What are you guys thinking? I'm torn between the two. I like both. I understand why both would be option one, hell no, option two, okay. Okay, so you're a fan of the black. Got it. You don't like this? You don't like this one at all? The gray? Oh, so hey, Chirpy says gray. I think you guys should fight it out in the chat. Let's see who wins. Let's do a quick poll. Let's have some fun. Let's see here. Let's do a poll. We'll say which cable sleeving. We'll say gray silver, or we can use black textile. There should be the poll. What do you guys think? We'll let that run for a few minutes. This morning, this is at the moment we ask ourselves, what would Steve Builds do? Well, Steve was hanging out here a little bit ago. Well, if he's still here, maybe we'll find out what Steve Builds will do. Yeah, it turns out I have quite a bit of this, and only a little bit more of this, and then I've got the thick stuff as well. This is like 1/2 inch. Havoc likes the gray. Steven, I think you might be asked out, man. That spiral torments you. What about the spiral don't you like? Is it just like visual? You don't like the way that it looks? It is a little bit more flexible. You get some space in there to access some stuff, but you would be able to see the wiring through the sleeve, though. That's the downside, is that you can see what you have inside of it, so it's not as clean. This one tends to fray at the ends like that. So we would heat that to sort of melt it back together. It's a little more fiddly to open up and get wires in there, but you could. Hold them both up at the same time. Here you go. And that would go from here back to this hole in the board, or sorry, in the MCU case. It's visual, and after you see stress marks and it deforms. Yeah. And then that's when we come back on stream and tell you you were right all along, and we apologize. I don't know, I'm torn. I like both. I mean, realistically, on the toolhead side, I'm going to have to use the black. Down here on the motors, I could do the gray down here, but the toolhead wiring is going to be, I think, slightly too big for something like this. Maybe not. I could be wrong, but I need to run the Nighthawk wire and the BD sensor wire. Well, I guess I could plug in the toolhead. So the Nighthawk wiring is all we would have to get in there. Nathan says choose both. Yeah, so this Nighthawk cable is really thick and durable, right? So with this one, I think this is like right at the max size of what that would be. Use both. I think we're gonna have to anyway. I'm a little bit in Steven's camp, only because when that flexes around, I can see the cabling through there, and so it would end up with, you know, a red and a black and whatever going through, and I'm a little bit worried about it flexing and bending over time and cracking or breaking, because it is plastic. Let's be honest, it is plastic. All right, if you haven't voted, we're gonna give it maybe another little bit. It's been running 3 minutes. We'll let it go for 5, and we'll see what happens. I need gray fabric. I wish I could find some. If you have a resource for gray fabric, let me know, and I'll go get some. Think different. Sleeve in black and put the gray over it. 2 layers. Yes, had considered that. We may actually do that. Yep, Tom's saying the same thing. We may end up doing that. Okay. So I'm going ahead in the poll. It looks like the majority said gray plastic. And then about slightly less than half of you want the black. I really do like the idea of sleeving in black and then covering with gray. So I think we'll do that. So we'll sleeve in black. This is probably just enough to do what we need to do. I got more though, so instead of trying to cheap out, let's get the actual stuff out. We'll sleeve this in black, and then we'll cover it with gray. 2 birds, 1 stone. So before I do it, what I like to do is I like to open this up the best that I can with one hand, and then try not to burn my fingers while I torch the end of this. Don't forget to put heat shrink on the end of the black sleeving to hide the frayed end. Yes. Thank you for the reminder. Yeah, but we torch that and just sort of like pat that down so it doesn't fray. That's number 1. And then we'll cover it with a heat shrink as well. Link is in stream chat on Discord. Thanks, Havoc. I will jump in there after stream and we'll check it out. Is this something I can get on Amazon? Spray paint the sleeve in gray. Oh man. If I could get away with it, I would. I haven't spray painted things in quite a while. Quite a while. All right, just trying to get the heat shrink out here. So here's the other question. I've got the clear stuff, which I don't think looks good. I've got blue, and I've got red, and I've got black. I'm gonna go with black just to keep things neat. Oh, you got it on AliExpress? Well, lucky for AliExpress, they owe me a whole bunch of stuff right now. I got in on their July 4th stuff and made quite the purchase. So I need to find a piece of nylon or something. I want to include that in here to tidy that up and keep things rigid-ish. Let me find some nylon. Actually, I've got a slice of ABS. I can do that. Let's see, where'd it go? Oh, that's Pet G, sorry. ABS, where are you? Pet G. G. Here you go. Let's use this one. So I've got this ABS. I'm gonna just pull a length of it out of here and trim this off. We'll run it inside, and that'll help it be a little more rigid than just floppity cables. Because these cables here, these feel like silicone, and these are too small to be rigid. So just adding a little bit of filament inside. It'd be more better if it were 2.85, but I don't have any of that. And we don't cut our own grass here, so I don't have any weed eater string either. Or what do you guys actually call it? Is it a weed eater, or is it a string trimmer, or is it something else? What is the colloquial term? I've heard both. Like when I was growing up, it was a weed eater. That's all I knew. And then it seems like lately I hear string trimmer. Strimmer from the UK. Okay. Tom, the UK is one of my favorite countries in the world. I like the terminology you guys use for a lot of different things. Strimmer is one of them. Okay. I'm going to put this on, and then we'll cut it to length. Weed eater is a trademark, kind of like Kleenex. Hey, if it works, happy, it works. I mean, like Xerox or Velcro or any of that stuff. We Google things now. We don't internet search them. So brand names are fine with me. Weed whacker. It's a good one. Haven't heard weed whacker in a while. Yeah, so with this textile stuff, the only thing I don't like is how like you have to really massage things to go in, and they don't really lay flat unless you make it do that. Like they want to, some sides go over the others, like right here, right? Like that's ugly, so you have to go back and make that look right by making sure the side you want is the side that's showing. So it's a little more involved. Oh, I think the wife just pulled up, which means, yep, we're 2 hours into the stream. So at hour 3, we're gonna call it, and then wifey and I are gonna go do stuff. You'd be curious how many in US weed whip and started thinking about doing cool. Cool. That's one of my favorite episodes. We are definitely a Family Guy family. Watch a fair share of American Dad as well. Okay. I'm gonna stop it about right there. That way we have some flexibility. This is probably gonna have to separate and go different locations anyway. So I'm gonna stop it about right there. I'm gonna trim that off. I just need enough to get down below the circle. Bed's all the way to the front. Let's push it all the way to the right. And so we need enough to get down inside there. And if I hold that where it should be, because there's a retainer that goes across, I'll hold that where it should be. Move this around. There's another retainer here. Hey, Digital Dragon. What's up, Luke? Happy Sunday, buddy. That'll go that way. I think that's about right. So really, I don't even need all of that. I could probably cut that. Let's move it over all the way forward. Probably cut that about right there. Just using my mouth. Using my mouth to hold that. Don't do that. Doesn't taste good. Silicone wiring does not taste good. I think there are around 30 major dialects in the U.S. considering the size. Yes, Tom, that's probably true. Even so, I grew up in South Carolina, which is southeast U.S., and I had one dialect growing up, and definitely a different one today. But that's because we are such an immigrant country that people come from everywhere else. Okay, so that's that. We got that all wrapped up nice. I can hear craziness behind me over there. So that's good to go. Let's do. Totally forgot to put this in there so we can run this down through. Give some rigidity to that. All right, so that'll help out with that guy. I'm gonna do heat shrink on here. I think I'm gonna use the whole thing. What do I do with it? I don't know if you guys can hear music or not, but the wife is having a party at the car right now. All right, I'm gonna use this whole piece. We were born in the wrong countries. You love the whole deep south aspect. Tom, I will trade you, buddy. I like the weather you guys have. Like I know it might be a hot topic, but rainy, cold, take me. I'll go. South, oh god, it is so humid, hot, miserable. There are a lot of things to like though, like the culture down there, the food down there, the history. Not always good, but there's some good stuff. And then the people. People are super friendly and always smiling and very deferential to status and sir, ma'am, good morning, like all that kind of stuff. I really like. I miss it, but haven't been living in the South since 2007 is the last time I lived in South Carolina. I've only been back, I think, twice to visit. So I'm pulling the sleeve down to about halfway on this heat shrink. That, and then when I shrink it down, it'll good to go. Let's see. What are we saying? Good to go. Thanks for the stream. Oh yeah. See you, Chirpy. Thanks for hanging out, man. I'm hoping that your first time with us was worth your time. This guy. That's what I need. Try not to anneal the parts too much while we're heating this down. Something like that, I think looks good. We'll get the backside a little bit. So luckily these have a glue inside of them. So my heat shrink has a glue that will glue itself to the textile and keep that in place a little better. Oh, got a little something on there. 30°C, 55 humidity. Uh, that's about the south. Yeah. So south will be 40°C and 90% humidity. Where I live right now, it is 7% humidity and roughly, I mean, it's 80 degrees outside Fahrenheit. So what is that? Something like 30°C, I guess. UK weather was wild. You had a rainy morning. Lashing coming from the fag rain actually hurts on your back when you're not wearing a shirt. And then you have blazing sun. We got some places like that. We definitely do. You told your wife yesterday, pick London, Germany, or Japan. Germany. For me, Germany. I lived in Japan for 3.5 years, and it's awesome. Don't get me wrong, but it can be very tropical at times, and that's a lot for me. If you can't tell, I don't like hot, humid weather. It's not my favorite. Very happy to be inside with AC. Same. Although I don't have AC. It's not too hot yet, but today is supposed to go to 102, which I think is around 40°C, 41°C, something like that. I don't know. I can't math out the conversion too well in my head. I always cheat and use Google, but it's not fun. We get so not only that, like the heat is one thing, but it's very dry. Like it's 7% humidity today. It's very dry here. So while it's hot, like the heat is not the issue. It's the UV index where it just feels like you're burning your skin. Like I get sunburned almost every week. Being outside for more than an hour, I get sunburned, like on my head and face. You love the South. Spent a lot of time in Tallahassee, then Orlando. Did the road trip to Florida with your parents. So Georgia, the Carolinas, and Tennessee. Yeah, I grew up all in that same area from South Carolina. We traveled a little bit between Orlando and Georgia and stuff like that. And now I don't live there anymore. I'm still gonna add zip ties to this, just to hold things around. Maybe Scotland. Stephen Machado. I like the idea of Scotland. I've never visited though. So for double insurance, I'm gonna add a zip tie right here to hold this heat shrink in. Sometimes I have seen where the textile will slide out. And I don't want that to happen because then you have to redo the whole thing. We'll do it like so. These cables go down inside, and then we'll have a nice black textile look. I know we had talked about putting this on there, but looking at that, the diameter looks to be too big for this silver stuff, so I don't know that we'll be able to do that. Move this back up a little bit. Apologies. You're from New Scotland. Is that what they call it, Liz? Newfoundland is New Scotland? I didn't know that. I've only ever been I've been to Newfoundland a couple of times. Gander. I've been to Gander several times. I remember getting snowed in there, and we spent the Christmas holiday in Gander, and like while most people would complain, I think it's sucks, but we didn't. The folks there were super nice, invited us over for Christmas dinner, took us out skidooing, which is the first time that I had heard skidooing, which is snowmobiling to me. And we just had a blast with people that we had just met, and the folks there were just super nice. So that's my experience of Nova Scotia or Newfoundland. Yeah, Newfoundland. Never been to Nova Scotia, but Newfoundland was very enjoyable. And so my idea of like moving to Canada when I retire, I'm only like half joking about that. I'm relatively serious when I say I would not mind retiring and living in Canada. But Orlando's a lot different. Yeah, Orlando is much, much different. I remember going when I was in high school, and in high school it was fun. We went down for like a senior field trip, I think it was. Why are you not going in there? Oh, because the nut moved. Luke grew up in Florida. That's cool. Next town over, New Glasgow. Okay. Liz, I always thought that like Nova Scotia was really cold, being on the sea and so far north. Is that true? Is it really that cold out there? Like, cause if it is, I want to go. Like, I like snow and ice and cold more than I like not snow and ice and cold. Sorry if my big head is in the way. I'm trying to. There's a small nut pocket in there that these screw into, and I think I would prefer if they were heat inserts for this portion. It would just make it a little bit cleaner. Because right now, I'm trying to tighten that. It won't tighten with the nut because the nut rotates. That one did. This one's going now. Look at that. Super clean. Super clean. Giving some very nice strain relief to those cables. Just make sure that's snug on there. I think I would like to see, maybe I modify this again to where there's a sort of a tail that comes out to support that. And then this zip tie can zip tie onto that little piece that sticks out. So this part, if you don't know, this part prints upside down, flat. So if I just made a flat extension on the end here and then reprint that, especially since I plan to design something that will cover the bottom of this and cover up those belts so they don't fall out. Just again, not super required, but something that I'm thinking about. I think that'd be a nice redesign on that part. And then obviously get rid of the nuts and make it either square nuts that come in through this side or heat inserts that go in right there. Nova Scotia's moderate. Winter's never too cold, but lots of snow. That's what I need. Summers are not much hotter than 8. Liz, just speaking my language. Can I move in? I think you have power tool green there anyway. I just need to come live with you. Newfoundland. Yes, my pronunciation was off. Newfoundland. Let's see. Your father has a house in Puerto Rico in your name and keeps trying to get you to come down. Your wife knows if you did. And I had good weather for more than 5 days straight, you'd stay. Yeah. Puerto Rico is pretty nice. It's a U.S. territory, so it's not like. I mean, it's got its own thing, right? Its own culture and all that stuff, and it's almost like its own country, but it's really kind of not. It's a U.S. territory, so I mean, traveling there, you'd still have all the same benefits and everything that you would otherwise. Same as Guam. I got to spend quite a bit of time in Guam, and that is also a U.S. territory. Okay, let's jam this down in there. And then I will cure that with a little bracket somewhere. You're in Quebec, Montreal, but you can visit your mom in Nova Scotia. I don't know why I thought you were in Nova Scotia. I don't know. Maybe you were talking about your parents, or like you're from Nova Scotia, and I my brain heard that that's where you lived. All good. I don't know French. I don't know that Quebec fits me. I mean, I barely speak English most of the time. Try to clean up the desk a little bit. All right, so that's the bed wiring. I want to check to see what the little bracket is inside here. I'm seeing your heart is there. Yeah, my heart is in South Carolina. I like the idea of it. I can't do the climate anymore though. I don't know that I would move back there unless I had a like a really good job or reason to move back there. Yeah, so there's a little this guy here. I don't know that I printed that. Maybe I did. But that keeps the wire in where it's supposed to be. I definitely did not do the heat inserts. If I did print this part, I did not do heat inserts on it, so I need to find my box of parts. This guy here. And let's see. So I've got one for the top of the x-axis and some other things. Yeah, I don't have that part. So I'll need to run that off. Do that little 5-minute print. Actually, no, here it is. I do have it. I do have it. Cool. Stay. All right, this is that's it there. I need to do heat sets in it though. So let me make some room. Just putting things on the floor because I have no place for them to live. Yeah, I had the whole desk was just a wreck yesterday because I had no stream going on, and we just had this whole blue mat covered with screws and parts and hardware and electronics, all kind of things. So it was a mad dash this morning after I got back from that run to clean things up to make it look at least a little bit presentable. Heat sets, this is the way. I agree. So Stephen Machado, to that point, I'm definitely going to remix that belt retention piece a little bit and change it up to be, I'll say a little more what I would do. Not that it's wrong or bad. Like I think it's fine. It'll work. But I have like things that I prefer to do. Yeah, I didn't even know that I needed heat sets on this one, but here we are. There's actually relatively few heat sets. Most of them are in the MCU case, so the electronics box, and that is for board mounting and fan mounts and cover. No press. You're breaking my heart. I have a press. So there are some parts on the tool head that a press is not going to work, and so I removed the tool from the press to do those. But I've got this press here. I just removed it, and I haven't put it back when I was out here yesterday. Iconic Fab, I don't know if you heard me, but when I was, when we had first started, I was out here for about 6 hours yesterday building what you see on the desk. And so, because of that, I created a mess. I didn't put things back where they should be, including the heat press. So, sorry. I know I'm breaking your heart. Sometimes savage brutality is what you got to do. Got this barely over the temperature to melt, so I'm gonna just increase this. These things are not melting. So I'll take it up to 240. Had it down at 220, and that's like barely enough to melt the plastic, so. Iconic Fab, though, I do need to build your heat set press because I would love to have a second one. The one that I have works just fine, but I find myself taking the tool out quite a bit. So if I could just have one that is always set up and then another one with the tool, it'll work. You were in a stall between projects and did a press on a whim. Could kick yourself for the quality improvement and simplicity it adds. I agree. The one that one I just showed, made from extrusion, that one is really good. I got it on Amazon. It works really well. and it's just 2 pieces of extrusion on a heavy metal plate. And that heavy metal plate provides like a low center of gravity on it, and it works well for most things. But you do have to remove the tool for things like, I'll show you. So on this bit, so the tool head, I'm sorry, the hot end mount portion, there are these sideways heat sets that have to go in at an angle, and there's not a good, you could try to balance that, but it tips because this is rounded, so it tips, and trying to press that straight is challenging. So for me, it's easier if I hold it and press it in that way because I can see that it's going in straight. And so I removed it to do that, and then I didn't put the tool back. Just jabbering nonsense. Oh no, I'm not taking you. This stream is never serious. If you come here quite often, I can take the jabbering. Actually, I prefer the jabbering. They probably have it in there a little too deep. Okay. I think this doesn't matter what side is which, but it definitely clamps in there pretty well, and I do like that. So we'll get some longer M3 screws out. Sounds like you just need another iron. I do need another iron. I have so much stuff though that I have tried to not have multiples of the same thing. So like I've got pretty much one set of Allen keys that are, this size, this style, right, with the ball end. And then I have, one set of drivers. And I don't know, when it comes to the tool side of things, it's one size. Hey Bill, it's they're calling it's the Polymaker power tool green, but it is very close to a Lowellsbach green, probably not as fluorescent. It's more matte in this shade, but it's very close to a Lowellsbach green. Tool is in +1, I agree. 2 is 1, 1 is none, I know, but when it comes to 3D printing tools, I don't follow that. I'm just being honest. Working on some concept though, which is aimed to allow using stealth press, pushing inserts in different angles. That would be cool. If you had something that could engage and lock at, I don't know, a 30, 45, and 60-degree angle, I think that'd be cool. This is probably hard to see. I understand, but it's like up in the corner. So I pulled through the cabling enough to have the heat shrink press onto the back, and it's sort of like this, except there's an extended piece on the. So you see the ridges in there. Those ridges are what are creating like a friction point to hold that cabling. On the one I just installed, this is extruded out, so it's like pressing into the cable, but it's up in the corner, so there's no good way to really show that without lifting the whole machine and trying to do this, and that's not really going to work out. But I'm using a little bit longer hardware to be able to grab that. And you don't need to tighten it too crazy, but just enough to put some tension on there so it can't pull those cables out. Let's do a little tug test. Watch what the bracket is doing in there. Just probably a little touch more. I'm swapping just back and forth. That way we get a more even pressure across those, and that's pretty good for me. Machinists have a variable angle block that could be 3D printed to use for the heat press. That's a good idea, Bill Brothers. Probably share that with Iconic Fab. He's considering like a an angling stealth press of some kind to do that. And we all know that he makes great stuff. I still need to mount this Wi-Fi antenna somewhere too. Probably do that like on this wall, maybe up under here, like towards the top. But I haven't figured that out yet. And then I need to print the block off plate that goes here. I'll print that in gray, make it flat. The reason this port is here, so if you wanted to run a high voltage, so let's say you wanted to do a 24 volt and a 36 or a 48, you can do that. Just add another XT60 port here, and that could connect over to the high voltage input on this. So expandability, but with the Nighthawk in the way, that's not really going to work out. So I'll just block that off. This will be a 24 volt machine. I don't plan to run 48. I don't know that it would benefit from it, to be honest. Electronics box is very nice. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. With something like an integrated board like a Manta, it keeps things really clean. But we also do not have any motor cabling in here yet. And I will use CAN just to keep it even cleaner. But I need to put 3 motor wires in here, 2 thermistors, and then connect some more power. So we'll see what we get. Small and very well laid out. Yeah, they definitely put a lot of time into the project. They definitely did. Look at the manual really fast so we get the wiring correct. Oh, what did I do? There we go. All right, so it looks like that on the input side, your heater bed is on the left, and the ESU is on the right. Voltage is in the center for both. Okay. So then what I'm going to do, like always, is I'm going to take my red Sharpie and color both the inside of where the screws are to make those red, but then also the top of the connection. So it's black. You're not really going to tell against a black background. You just know that it's darker than the rest, which is why I color the tops of those screws. So I do it that way, and then we get the black out, and we do the other ones in black. And that's so I don't make mistakes or reduce the amount of mistakes that I make. We'll do it that way. Cool. And then obviously I need to shorten these. Normally I'd put a label on here as well. I don't have any tape small enough. I need to get some more tape. But I would put heat bed and 24 volt on here. So something that looks like that. This is heat shrink, not a sticker, but it would be a sticker that just goes on there. It says 24 volt. Probably overkill, but it makes me feel good when I do it. Move you out of the way. And then with power coming in, needs to go something like that. And then we have to figure out how to connect 12 gauge wire. 12 gauge wire to run 24 volt. That's so funny. I'm probably going to cut this here. I'm going to have to get some different cutters. I think those are about done. There we go. Jeez. Yeah, it's probably best to cut that off anyway. They tend the ends of these, and you don't want to put that inside of your connection. It'll get loose over time. So probably don't need that. We'll strip this back and keep going. Get the strippers out. Let's see if we can strip 12 gauge with these things. Yep, sure can. And actually pretty smooth too. And of course you're gonna have to put ferrules on here because putting that many strands into that little port not gonna work out. Luckily these are pretty large. I think it'll work. I hope it'll work. Not, we'll take this off and we'll get something a little smaller. Really, 18 gauge is going to work just fine. And I've got some, but not with an XT60 connection on the end of it. So we'll have to find something on the internet that a little bit smaller. You try thick wire with worn out cutters and sent the jaws flying. Yeah, so on these ones, I think I tried to cut a 1mm piano wire with it for the right rig tool head, and I think it put a little indent into the teeth or the flush cutter part of it, and so now it doesn't cut right there. Ferrule crimp would be good for those. Yeah, that's what we're about to do. That's what we are about to do. I ferrule crimp all of mine. That's why I get this kit here. So we'll do that for the power in. We'll do that for these bed wires, and then we'll do the same for any other power connection that we add. We'll always do ferrules when I insert into a terminal block like that. I just need to find the tool. This guy here. And I need to find a connection that's large enough to take 12 gauge, not that one. Let's see, so I'll get these big gray ones. First things first, let's make sure they fit in the hole. They don't while they're circle. We'll try it when they're square. I'm going to sacrifice one for science. As I crimp that, let's see, does it come off? It like stuck itself in there. What is happening? My tool just die real time? Anyway, so as that crimps down, it sort of fits in there. It'll fit, but that's like really small. That's not going to go that small when I crimp this. I'm just a little nervous about trying to undo it if I need to. I'll twist it on, make sure we don't have any extra wires that poke out. That was actually a good call, the gray one. Let's crimp this now and see what happens. All right, so that made it more square. Hopefully that fits in there. All right, I know I'm blocking you. Yep, so it works. We'll move this out of the way like that. Get a straight shot into the port while keeping things short. Short, but still able to undo and have some slack on it. Same for this guy. Twist it up. The gray ferrule on there. So how was your guys' 4th of July? Anybody do anything super cool or different? We kept it basic. We hung out at home all day. And then at around, I don't know, 6 o'clock or whatever, we went to a buddy's house. He was doing his 4th of July party thing. So hung out with a bunch of coworkers. And yeah, had a good time. Close enough for government work. Yeah, all of my work is government work. I'm going to use a helper here to finesse that into place. Come on, baby. So sometimes on the crimp, they don't crimp exactly square. So if it's misshapen, more of a rectangle, you may need to rotate it around to get it in there, and that's what I was just doing. But keeps it tight, and then pressing up against the Nighthawk case there makes it go straight in and stay in. So even if these do come loose, I'm comfortable saying that they're not just going to fall out, just based on how they're in there like so. Luckily, that's silicone. I don't know that you'd be able to do that with other things. And then the heat bed's right next to it, so we'll make that connection as well. Those will go, I think I want to go under. Yeah, we'll go under. Like this. And then with those being that way, we can go like that. to do with my flush cutters? You still have all your fingers and toes? Yeah, I have all 8 of mine as well. That's a win. It's a good 4th of July if you come home with all the appendages you left with. All right, so we'll probably finish up this little bit of wiring for the bed, and then we'll go ahead and call the stream almost at the 3-hour mark. But it's been a fun 3 hours. We got to cover the whole idea behind the build itself. And we shared where you can find out more about it. Some folks here, not sure folks lost fingers. I think you were talking about that yesterday on the Lee Marie stream, that like you heard some folks did some crazy stuff, but you live in Florida, right? If you live in Florida, that does not surprise me that people would lose fingers. You know, Florida man being a thing. Oh, Indiana. Oh, that's right. You okay, I'm tracking. You live nearby, like you're over hanging out with Jeremy and Keela. Hey, y'all, watch this. Yeah, that's exactly how it starts. Anytime you mix dangerous things like fireworks with alcohol and, you know, hanging out with a bunch of bunch of people that goad you into doing crazy stuff, like bad things can happen. Yeah, luckily for us, not the case. As far as I know, everybody made it home just fine. Screwdriver, what did I do with you? I'll put this one here. We got enough of a service loop in there to make it worth the while if we need to take it apart for any reason. Got some space to do some things. Keep that nice and tight. And then this one should go right there. So there's a heat bed right next to the so to keep it clean, again, I'm gonna go under. We'll come around, plug in my heat bed right there on TB. So luckily we trimmed that to be quite nice. It's not too long at all. It was a good guess. Good guess. And then I can do a little zip tie on there to keep things tight. Look at the thin guys out. We can do something around in the middle here. Just want to keep that loop pretty small. Sweet. Looks good. Here, hold my beer. Hey, Earl, watch this. That's pretty funny. I grew up with a lot of that stuff. I remember, probably, this is not smart, and I probably shouldn't tell you guys this, but we'll share the story. I remember, like, having Roman candle fights with my friends and my cousins when I was growing up. Like, we'd get Roman candle and, like, shoot them at each other. I don't know how we didn't lose eyes. But it was a thing. All right, so that's wiring. I just noticed too, like I'm sitting here like reading chat for the last 3 hours, and I just noticed that YouTube put on here the top fan stuff. I didn't know that. Got to run? Yeah, no problem, Bill. We're wrapping up anyway. Thanks for hanging out and checking out the build. If you have any questions about it later or whatever, or you finally want to finish your trident, shoot me a message on Discord. I help you out where I can, or we could talk shop a little bit. It was good seeing you last week. Cool. I'm happy with that for today. The wife and I are gonna run off and do, stuff together or whatever. So I need to sort of finish up and get moving. But yeah, pretty tidy. We need to do, like I said, some motor wiring that'll come in through here. I need to shorten these and put them sort of down this direction like that, and that'll be cool. I'll make sure to wrap these with some more cable sleeve. I've got to do another one for our secondary motor, and then run the Z motor down and through, and that'll go in there as well. So 3 more motor wires and a Nighthawk connection. We need some power and a USB. So a little bit to do, not too much though. What, 6 cables? 6 more cables to run with some cable sleeve. Kitchell, if I have my way, it'll go burr this afternoon. So keep an eye on the channel. I'll make a short about it, and I'll post that to the YouTubes. So again, wasn't meant to be a build progress stream or anything like that. Just kind of an overview of the printer to help advertise it a little bit for the dev team. I think it really is a cool little project. I turned Steve Builds onto it last week. He's interested in doing one. It was sort of a hit at Rocky Mountain as well. A lot of folks were really paying attention to it. Not as much as I would have liked, because I think it deserved a little more. It is super unique, super cool. And so I'm happy to build it and show it off a little bit. Again, more of a test rig for me to test new hot ends, new extruders, that kind of stuff. The electronics and everything will probably stay the way that they are, but hot ends and whatever will change out over time. So once we get it running, either today or tomorrow, I'm off tomorrow as well. But in the next 2 days, I'll post a short on YouTube about it, and we'll take a look at the first print and see if it can do better than the inertia cube did on the first print. So barring any other questions, we're going to call this stream. Thanks for everyone for hanging out, all 25 of you for being here. If you haven't already, please subscribe and click the like button. That helps out the algorithm to keep this coming your way, so you'll see when the next cool thing we do is, which I still need to figure out. So if you have ideas, shoot me a message. Let me know what you want to see on the stream, and we'll try to make that happen. Kitchell, Jason, Boothie, see you guys. Havoc, Bill, see you later. Steven, thanks for hanging out. Bottle Rockets, Pez, Liz, see you soon. Yeah, you're streaming soon, so I'll stop by and say hi for a little bit. You guys enjoy your holiday weekend, whatever is left of it. I know not everyone has tomorrow off, so if you don't, have a good day at work tomorrow. I'm going to enjoy it. We'll probably get this thing running. So thanks you all for hanging out. See you next time, guys.